Welcome to the Ask a Pastor podcast. My name is Robbie Plemons. I'm the pastor of Crosspoint Presbyterian Church in Park City, Utah. Today, we're not answering a specific question, but instead, I wanted to take a few moments to explore an interesting idea related to my sermon from this past Sunday. Now, one of the things we talked about was the contrast between the city of Babylon and the holy city of Jerusalem, as it's called in Nehemiah 11. Now, in the Bible, both the Old Testament and New Testament, Babylon stands as a symbol of human pride, materialism, and self promotion, while Jerusalem is the city where God descends to dwell with his people, a city that's centered around the worship and the glory of the covenant God of Israel. Now, in these two cities, we see opposing worldviews that still exist today. In Babylon, the goal is to build a tower so humanity can seize heaven and be in total control. But in Jerusalem, everything is designed to make it clear that God is the sovereign ruler of the universe. I mentioned briefly in my sermon that Lori and I were in Manhattan celebrating our anniversary. And one of the activities our host scheduled for us was a private tour of St. Patrick's Cathedral. It was fascinating for several reasons. One being that the tour happened to coincide with a significant historical moment. Catholic cardinals from all over the world, including Cardinal Dolan, the Archbishop of New York, were at the time of our tour traveling to Rome to participate in conclave to select the next pope. There was an energy surrounding the place. Now, although we know Cardinal Dolan wasn't chosen, I got the sense that our guide was quietly hoping and praying that he would be selected the next pope. But what I found most interesting about the tour was the behind the scenes view of the architecture of St. Patrick's Cathedral. Now, this private tour took us into areas that are normally off limits to the public, and we got to see a unique perspective on the building's history and design. Now, one feature that stood out to me was the staircase leading from the sacristy below the main floor, where the priest prepares before making his way up to lead Mass. Now, as he moves from below ground level to the sanctuary, he emerges near the altar where he sees the statue of the Holy Child of Earth and Heaven, a depiction of Jesus as a young boy holding the world in the palm of his hand. But this is where it gets interesting. When you move to the front of the sanctuary and the main doors of the cathedral are opened, framed perfectly within the doorway, so no accident, is a striking scene across Fifth Avenue. It's a 4-story tall bronze statue of Atlas, straining under the crushing weight of the heavens. I took this photo during the tour. Now, the story goes that in the 1940s, the Rockefellers, a famous American industrial family, they weren't big fans of the church, and so they deliberately had this massive statue of Atlas built as a celebration of humanity's strength and endurance, and they placed it directly opposite of St. Patrick's Cathedral. But in Greek mythology, Atlas is not a celebration of human might, but instead he serves as a cautionary tale. See, Atlas is forced to bear the weight of the heavens as a curse for taking part in a failed rebellion against the gods. Now, if we aren't careful, we can find ourselves chasing the illusion of self sufficiency. And the result is that we end up struggling under a weight that God never intended for us to bear. Brad Larson was a counselor in New York City. He shares the story about how he would walk with his clients who were struggling with anxiety to view the statue of Atlas. He would have them look at the statue and say to them, "This is what happens when we try to bear too much alone." He pointed at the muscles strained to their limits, his face contorted with effort, struggling to hold up the weight of the entire world. This, as he would point to Atlas, is what anxiety feels like. It's when your body and mind are signaling that you're attempting to carry burdens that were never meant for your shoulders alone. Now, see, anxiety doesn't always have to be a bad thing. Anxiety can function like a warning light on your emotional dashboard, letting you know that you've taken on too much responsibility for the outcomes in your life, outcomes that you don't have the power to control. But then he would take them across the street to St. Patrick's Cathedral. He would show them the statue of the child of heaven and earth, young Jesus, effortlessly balancing the world in one small hand. He's not straining, he's not struggling, he's at peace. Today, if you're struggling with chronic anxiety, it may be an indicator that you're living like Atlas rather than trusting and living like a child of God. When worry and fear consume us, it's a sign that we've forgotten our human limitations and we're attempting to shoulder weights that were meant for much stronger hands. As Larson concluded, we always have a choice whenever anxiety rises. We can continue straining under burdens that are too heavy for us, or we can recognize the warning signs and surrender, saying to Jesus, I can't carry this by myself, so I'm turning these concerns over to you. When we take this perspective, it gives us the ability to view anxiety not as failure, but as an invitation. Now, with the image of Atlas in mind, listen to the words of Jesus from Matthew 11. Come to me, all of you who are weary and overburdened, and I will give you rest. Put on my yoke and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. Now, notice Jesus isn't offering to completely eliminate or erase our burdens. Rather, he invites us to replace our crushing loads with his yoke. It's an image of shared labor. This isn't let go and let God theology, but this is rightly ordered responsibility, where we're fully engaged in the work that God has called us to, while we surrender the outcomes of that work to his sovereign plan. See, Babylon promises that being a self-made man or woman will bring glory, when in the end it only leads to anxiety. Like Atlas, we're left to carry our careers, our families, our futures, our financial security, even our very own identities on our own shoulders. But the gospel offers a radically different way. It begins not with trying harder, but with surrendering to Jesus. It's counterintuitive, I know, but true peace is not found in trying to control your world, but it's found in trusting the one who already holds everything in his sovereign hand. Until next time, may you find the words of the sovereign Lord, the Holy One of Israel, to be true. He says, in repentance and rest is your salvation, and quietness and trust is your strength.